Okay. Cool. I'll walk around. So after the entrance? Yeah, soon after? Well, okay. I'm right over there still.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose rough stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red flares gleaming through the woods, and the flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
The moment of silence we just shared marks the very moment 20 years ago that American Airlines Flight 11 flew into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. My name is Mike Lowe, and my daughter Sarah Elizabeth Lowe was a flight attendant on that plane. These 20 years have felt like both a long time and a short time, and as we recite the names of those we lost, my memory goes back to that terrible day when it felt like an evil specter had descended on our world. But it was also a time when many people acted above and beyond the ordinary. Beginning with the actions of the flight crews, like Sarah, and the passengers on the 4 flights, the individuals in the towers, the professionals of the fire and police, and later the volunteers who helped work on the pile sensitive to recovering our loved ones' remains. They helped pull us through the darkest days of our lives. In the last 20 years, my family and I have at times known unbearable sorrow and disbelief about the lives that would never be. Years we have filled with speaking out on my daughter's behalf and calling on many more precautions, and also for the history to be remembered not as numbers and a date, but the faces of ordinary people who looked a lot like Sarah. At the first memorial ceremony, my wife Bobby and I stood here with thousands of family members, right in the midst of a gray and black world of destroyed buildings. Today, this is a quiet place of memory. The gleaming 9/11 Museum holds a sacred repository for our loved ones' remains, and the still brightening stories of all the sons and daughters, the siblings, husbands and wives, grandparents, and friends. As we carry these 20 years forward, I find sustenance in a continuing appreciation for all of those who rose to be more than ordinary people, and a father's pride in his daughter's selfless acts in the last moments of her life, acting with heroic calm to help those in the air and those on the ground, a legacy from Sarah that burns like an eternal flame.
Gordon M. Amos Jr.,
Edelmiro Abad,
Marie Rose Abad,
Andrew Anthony Abate,
Vincent Paul Abate,
Lawrence Christopher Abel,
Alana Abraham,
William F. Abrahamson,
Richard Anthony Aceto,
Heinrich Bernard Ackerman,
Paul Aquaviva,
Christian Adams,
Donald Leroy Adams,
Patrick Adams,
Shannon Lewis Adams,
Stephen George Adams,
Ignatius Udo Adanga,
Christy A. Adamo,
Terrence Edward Adderley Jr.,
Sophia B. Otto,
Lee Adler,
Daniel Thomas Aflito,
Emmanuel Akwazi Afwakwa,
Alok Agarwal,
Mukul Kumar Agarwala,
Joseph Agnello,
David Scott Agnes,
Joao Alberto da Fonseca Aguiar Jr.,
Brian G. Ahern,
Jeremiah Joseph Ahern,
Joanne Marie Aladiotis,
Sabir Ahmed,
Terrence Andre Aiken,
Godwin O. Ajala,
Trudy M. Alagero,
Andrew Alameno,
Margaret Ann Alario,
Gary M. Albero,
John Leslie Albert,
Peter Craig Alderman,
and my brother, Vladimir Savinkin. Vladik, we all love and miss you so much. Thank you for answering our prayers and showing us that you're always with us. I look at your nephew's face, and I see you in his face sometimes, and I cherish those moments. 20 years have gone by, and so much has changed in our lives, but the memory of you and keeping you close to us and cherishing the gift of your life never changes and never will. Мы тебя очень любим, Владик, и мы тебя помним. Передай папе привет.
And my father, Edward Joseph Papa. Dad, we miss you every day. Our greatest gifts are your beautiful grandchildren. They embody your kind spirit, warm heart, loving nature, and zest for life. They are a daily reminder that your legacy lives on. We love you, Dad.
Jacqueline Delaney Alderidge Frederick.
David D. Alger.
Ernest Alakakos.
Edward L. Allegretto.
Eric Allen.
Joseph Ryan Allen.
Richard Dennis Allen.
Richard L. Allen.
Christopher E. Allingham.
Anna S. W. Allison.
Janet Marie Alonso.
Anthony Alvarado.
Antonio Javier Alvarez.
Victoria Alvarez Brito.
Telmo E. Alvier.
Caesar Amaranto Alviar.
Tariq Amanula.
Angelo Amaranto.
James M. Amato.
Joseph Amatuccio.
Paul W. Ambrose.
Christopher Charles Amoroso.
Craig Scott Amundsen.
Kazuhiro Anai.
Callisto Anaya Jr.
Joseph P. Anshundia.
Kermit Charles Anderson.
Yvette Constance Anderson.
John Jack Andriakio.
Michael Rourke Andrews.
Jean Ann Andruki.
C. Nia Ang.
Joseph Angelini Sr.
Joseph John Angelini Jr.
David Lawrence Angel.
Mary Lynn Edwards Angel.
Laura Angeletta.
Doreen J. Angersani.
Lorraine Antigua.
Sima David Aoima.
Ronald Philip Kaloper. And my husband, Joseph Rena Jr.
And my uncle, James Francis Quinn.
Joe, we love and miss you more than you could ever imagine. Our son is the spitting image of you. He lights up my world every day. I see you in everything that he does, and I know that you see us because I feel you. Continue to watch over us and your family. 20 years feels like an eternity, but yet it still feels like yesterday. Until we meet again, my love, rest in peace.
Peter Paul Apollo.
Faustino Apostle Jr.
Frank Thomas Aquilino.
Patrick Michael Alyanras.
David Gregory Archer.
Michael George Archinsky.
Louis Arena.
Barbara Jean Aristoghi.
Adam P. Arias.
Michael Armstrong.
Jack Charles Aaron.
Joshua Ton Aaron.
Richard Avery Aronow.
Myra Joy Arison.
Japhet Jesse Aria.
Carl Francis Azaro.
Michael A. Asiak.
Mike Thomas J. Ashton.
Janice Marie Ashley.
Greg A. Atlas,
Manuel O. Isinembe,
James Otterfield,
Gerald Thomas Atwood,
Ezra Avales,
Louis F. Aversano Jr.,
Arlene T. Bacatadas,
Sandy Ayala,
John Bagagliano,
Eustace Bacchus, Jane Ellen Basler,
Robert J. Bellwater,
Andrew J. Bailey,
Britt T. Bailey,
Garnet Ace Bailey,
Tatiana Balalinsky,
Michael S. Baksh,
Sharon M. Balcom,
Michael Andrew Bain,
Catherine Bantis,
and my uncle, firefighter Christopher Michael Mazzillo. I know you're with us every day watching over us, and even though I never met you in person, I still miss you a lot. Mom always tells me all the crazy fun things you did, and I'm sure if you were here, I'd probably be doing them with you. Thank you for being the best guardian angel and for sending us Killian. We know he can see you. Mom also says I have your lovable charm and fearlessness. Not only do I have your charm, but I'm honored to have your name as my middle name. You, Pop-Up, and Dad have inspired me to follow in your footsteps and become a firefighter too. We hope you will continue to watch over us, and keep us healthy and safe. We love you so much, Uncle Chris.
and my sister, Cecilia Elizabeth Richard Lawson. Dear Cece, it's been 20 years since you left us. I remember this day as if it was yesterday. You are greatly missed by our mother, your sisters, your nieces, your nephews. It was such a sad day on September 11th. I remember you working at the Pentagon, and when they told us an airplane had attacked the Pentagon, I couldn't believe it. From the building of where I worked at EPA, I could see the smoke. And I couldn't believe that you're gone. I just want to say I love you, and we miss you. Thank you so much.
Gerard Baptiste,
Walter Baran,
Gerard A. Barbera,
Paul Vincent Barbero,
James William Barbella,
Victor Daniel Barbosa,
Christine Jana Barbuto,
Colleen Ann Barkow,
David Michael Barkway,
Matthew Barnes,
Melissa Rose Barnes,
Sheila Patricia Barnes,
Evan J. Barron,
Renee Barrett Arjun,
Arthur Thaddeus Barry,
Diane G. Barry,
Maurice Vincent Barry,
Scott D. Bart,
Carlton W. Bartels,
Guy Bartzy,
Ina B. Basina,
Alicia Christine Burton Basmajan,
Kenneth William Basnicki,
Stephen Joseph Bates,
Paul James Battaglia,
W. David Bauer,
Ivan Luis Carpio Bautista,
Marlon Capito Bautista,
Mark Lawrence Bavis,
Jasper Baxter,
Lorraine G. Bay,
Michelle Beal,
Todd M. Beamer,
Paul Frederick Bettini,
Jane S. Beatty,
Alan Anthony Bevan,
Lawrence Ira Beck,
Manette Marie Beckles,
Carl John Bedigian,
Michael Ernest Beekman,
and my uncle Thomas F. Swift. We love you and we miss you. You live on in our hearts and the hearts and minds of your family, and we think about you every day, and I can't wait to meet you again.
and my brother TJ Hargrave, who we continue to miss and love every day. The world is a lesser place without him.
Maria A. Bear,
Max J. Bilke,
Yelena Belilovsky,
Nina Patrice Bell,
Debbie S. Bellows,
Stephen Elliott Belson,
Paul M. Benedetti,
Denise Lenore Benedetto,
Brian Craig Bennett,
Eric L. Bennett,
Oliver Bennett,
Margaret L. Benson,
Dominic J. Berardi,
James Patrick Berger,
Stephen Howard Berger,
John P. Bergen,
Alvin Bergson,
Daniel David Bergstein,
Graham Andrew Berkeley,
Michael J. Berkeley,
Donna M. Bernards,
David W. Bernard,
May God bless our fallen brothers and sisters, their families, their friends, and their loved ones. He says, I'll see you in my dreams. The road is long and seeming without end. Days go on, but I'll remember you, my friend. And though you're gone, and my heart's been emptied, it seems, I'll see you in my dreams. I got your guitar by my bed, all your favorite records and all the books that you read. And though my soul feels like it's been split at the seams, I'll see you in my dreams. I'll see you in my dreams, when all our summers have come to an end. I'll see you in my dreams. We'll meet and live and laugh again. I'll see you in my dreams. Yeah, up around the river bend, for death is not the end. 'Cause I'll see you in my dreams. I'll see you in my dreams, when all our summers have come to an end. I'll see you in my dreams. We'll meet and live and love again. I'll see you in my dreams. Yeah, up around the river bend, for death is not
William H. Bernstein.
David M. Beret.
David Shelby Berry.
Joseph John Berry.
William Reed Bethke.
Yanene Beetrue.
Timothy D. Betterly.
Carolyn Mayer Bugh.
Edward Frank B.A.
Paul Michael Bear.
Anil Tahilram Bhavani.
Bella J. Buchan.
Shimi D. Beaglesen.
Peter Alexander Bielfeld.
William G. Biggert.
Brian Eugene Bilcher.
Mark Bingham.
Carl Vincent Beanie.
And my uncle, firefighter Joseph Patrick Henry from Ladder Company 21. I wish I had the chance to meet you, Uncle Joey. I heard you were a great person.
And my husband, Thomas Michael Kelly. We love you and we miss you.
Gary Eugene Bird.
Joshua David Birnbaum.
George John Bishop.
Chris Romeo Bishuntat.
Jeffrey Donald Bittner.
Albert Baliwa Blackman Jr.
Christopher Joseph Blackwell.
Carrie Rosetta Blackburn.
Susan Leigh Blair.
Harry Blanding Jr.
Janice Lee Blaney.
Craig Michael Blass.
Rita Blau.
Richard Middleton Blood Jr.
Michael Andrew Bacardi.
John Paul Bacci.
Michael L. Bocchino.
Susan N. Bocchino.
Dara Francis Bodley.
Bruce Douglas Bohm.
Mary Catherine Murphy Bofa.
Nicholas Andrew Bogdan.
Darren Christopher Bohan.
Lawrence Francis Bousseau.
Vincent M. Boland Jr.
Tori Hamzavi Balorchi.
Alan Bondarenko.
Andre Bonhair Jr.
Colin Arthur Bonnet.
Frank J. Bonomo.
Yvonne Lucia Bonamo.
Sean Booker Sr.
Kelly Ann Booms.
Canfield D. Boone.
Mary Jane Booth.
Sherry Ann Bordeaux.
Christine Bornanabe.
Jerry J. Borg.
Martin Michael Borchevsky.
Richard Edward Bosco.
And my father, Thomas J. Fisher. We love you and miss you.
And my brother and friend, James Marcel Cartier. In remembrance, American Brotherhood MC remembers Lester V. Marino, Kenneth T. Watson, Tommy Ashton, and all the other lives taken away too early.
Klaus Bota.
Carol Marie Bouchard.
J. Howard Bolton.
Francisco Eligio Bordier.
Thomas Harold Bowden Jr.
Donna M. Bowen.
Kimberly S. Bowers.
Veronique Nicole Bowers.
Larry Bowman.
Sean Edward Bauman, Jr.
Kevin L. Bowser.
Gary R. Box.
Gennady Boyarsky.
Pamela Boyce.
Alan P. Boyle.
Michael Boyle.
Alfred J. Braca.
Sandra Canati Grace.
Kevin Hugh Bracken.
Sandy Waugh Bradshaw.
David Brian Brady.
Alexander Berginski.
Nicholas W. Brandon
Daniel Raymond Brandhorst,
David Reed Gamboa Bradhorst,
Michelle Renee Bratton,
Patrice Brout,
Lydia Estelle Bravo,
Ronald Michael Breitweiser,
Edward A. Brennan III,
Frank H. Brennan,
Michael E. Brennan,
Peter Brennan,
Thomas Moore Brennan,
Daniel J. Russell,
Gary Lee Wright,
Jonathan Eric Briley,
Mark A. Brisman,
Paul Gary Bristow,
Marion R. Britton,
and my grandfather, Cesar Amaranto Alvear. We love you so much. Thank you for watching over us. We miss you. And please convince Mommy to get us a husky someday. Love you.
and my father, Jason Matthew Coffey, and my grandfather, Daniel Michael Coffey. Even though I never got the chance to meet either of you, I know there are two angels in heaven watching over me and our family. We all love you so much.
Mark Francis Broderick,
Herman Charles Broghammer,
Keith A. Broomfield,
Bernard C. Brown II,
Janice J. Louise Brown,
Lloyd Stanford Brown,
Patrick John Brown,
Patina B. Brown Rayburn,
Mark Bruce,
Richard George Bruhert,
Andrew Brunn,
Vincent Edward Brunton,
Ronald Booka,
Brandon J. Buchanan,
Greg J. Buck,
Dennis Buckley,
Nancy Claire Boishet,
Patrick Joseph
This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service.
Major Stephen V. Long, United States Army. James T. Lynch, Jr. Terrence M. Lynch.
Petty Officer, 2nd Class, Nahum Lyons, the 4th, United States Navy. Shelley A. Marshall. Teresa M. Martin. Ida L. Masson-Aker. Lieutenant Colonel Dean E. Matson, United States Army. Lieutenant General Timothy J. Mudd, United States Army. Robert J. Maxwell. Renee A. May. Molly L. McKenzie. Dora Marie Menchaca. Patricia E. Mickley. Major Ronald D. Milam, United States Army. Gerard P. Morin, Jr.
Odessa V. Morris. Petty Officer First Class Brian A. Moss, United States Navy. Teddington H. Moy. Lieutenant Commander Patrick J. Murphy, United States Navy Reserve. Christopher C. Newton. Kang Nok Wen. Petty Officer Second Class Michael A. Noth, United States Navy. Barbara K. Olson. Ruben S. Ornado. Diana B. Pedro. Lieutenant Jonas M. Panic, United States Navy Reserve. Major Clifford L. Patterson, Jr., United States Army. Robert Penninger. Robert R. Plodger III. And his wife, Zandra F. Plodger. Lieutenant Darren H. Pontel, United States Navy Reserve. Scott Powell. Captain Jack D. Punches, United States Navy retired. Petty Officer First Class Joseph J. Piesier, Jr., United States Navy. Lisa J. Raines. Deborah A. Ramser. Rhonda Sue Rasmussen. Petty Officer First Class Marcia D. Ratchford, United States Navy. Martha M. Reski. Todd H. Rubin. Cecilia E. Lawson Richard. Edward V. Rowenhorst. Judy Rowland. Sergeant Major Robert E. Russell, United States Army retired. Chief Warrant Officer William R. Ruth, United States Army Reserve. Charles E. Sabin, Sr. Marjorie C. Salamoni. John P. Sammartino. Colonel David M. Scales, United States Army. Commander Robert A. Slagle, United States Navy. Janice M. Scott. Lieutenant Colonel Michael L. Sells, United States Army retired. Marianne H. Serva. Commander Dan F. Shanover, United States Navy. Antoinette M. Sherman. Diane M. and her husband, George W. Simmons. Donald D. Simmons. Cheryl D. Sincock. Chief Greg H. Smallwood, United States Navy. Lieutenant Colonel Gary F. Smith, United States Army, retired. Marie Ray Sopper. Robert Speisman. Patricia J. Stotts. Edna L. Stevens. Norma Lang Sturley. Sergeant Major Larry L. Strickland, United States Army. Hilda E. Taylor. Lieutenant Colonel Kip P. Taylor, United States Army. Leonard E. Taylor. Sandra C. Taylor. Sandra D. Teague. Lieutenant Carl W. Teepee, United States Army, retired. Sergeant Tamara C. Thurman, United States Army. Lieutenant Commander Otis V. Tolbert, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Willie Q. Troy, United States Army, retired. Lieutenant Commander Ronald J. Vaughn, United States Navy Reserve. Lieutenant Colonel Karen J. Wagner, United States Army. Meta L. Fuller Waller. Specialist Chin Sun Pak Wells, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Maudlin A. White, United States Army. Sandra L. White. Ernest M. Wilshire. Lieutenant Commander David L. Williams, United States Navy. Major Dwayne Williams, United States Army. Chief Marvin Roger Woods, United States Navy, retired. Captain John D. Yemnicki Sr., United States Navy, retired. Vicky Yancey. Petty Officer 2nd Class Kevin W. Yoakum, United States Navy. Chief Donald M. Young, United States Navy. Edmund G. Young, Jr. Lisa L. Young. Shuyin Young. And her husband, Yuguang Zhen.
I invite you to join me in prayer. Let us pray. Almighty God, we pause on this solemn anniversary with heavy hearts as we remember this horrific tragedy took place on the grounds of the Pentagon, taking from us 184 of nearly 3,000 sons and daughters of our nation that perished on this day. We especially remember the surviving families and friends and ask your continued healing of the grief that they bear each day. We celebrate these great American heroes who have laid such a supreme sacrifice onto the altar of freedom. And Lord, we ask that you bring them comfort to all survivors as our nation remembers their patriotism. Oh God, we also remember and offer thanks to those who served, delivered aid, delivered assistance, and even saved others in this time of tragedy and need. Lord, 20 years later, our prayer is that we unite together as a nation and embrace one another with dignity and respect for all, that we seek peaceful resolutions, and we learn to choose love over fear each day. And Lord, with your help, oh God, help us find hope and forgiveness in ourselves and in this world which we live, that we can make a difference to everyone around us. Lord, through your help, through your guidance, through your loving grace, we pray this in thy holy name. Amen. I now invite you to stand and join me in a moment of silence.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It is my pleasure to introduce General Mark A. Milley, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Mr. Secretary, distinguished guests, thank you all for participating in this morning's ceremony. But most importantly, I want to thank the people we're here for today, the survivors of the murderous attack on this building and the families of the fallen. Thank you all for participating, and we are all deeply humbled to be standing here on this sacred ground. 20 years ago began as a typical morning for Pentagon employees. Those in uniform and our civilian colleagues settled into the rhythms and routines of a normal Tuesday morning with a near cloudless sky, temperatures in the low 60s, and it promised to be a beautiful day. The passengers and crew of American Airlines Flight 77 were a little over an hour into their flight from Dallas to LA. Fathers, mothers, husbands, wives, sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters. All that changed at 9:37 a.m. as the innocent were caught in the crossfire of terror. The ideology of hatred unfolded on this very ground. In seconds, scores of lives were lost. 184 men, women, and children were slaughtered in the violent impact and fury. 59 passengers and crew, 125 of our Pentagon colleagues, and the innocent ranged in age from 3 to 71 years old. Those who perished here were among the 2,977 killed on that day here in New York and in Pennsylvania. Not for what they did, but for what they believed and what they represented. Not for anything they did, but rather for who they were. The people we lost that day are not just names and numbers. We remember them today for not only who they were, but for what they could have become. They were irreplaceable to their families, instrumental in their jobs, woven into the fabric of their community, full of life and potential. Lives cut short, pain that can never be properly described in words, suffering that will never fully heal, and no words that I nor anyone else will ever say that can fill the gaping hole. But we, the living, we have a solemn duty to honor their memory, their legacy, to honor and remember them, not just today, but every day. The horrific acts of terrorism on that day were meant to disrupt our way of life and destroy the idea that is America. That idea is simple, yet incredibly powerful. The idea that terrorists hate and fear. The idea that all of us, men and women, black and white, Asian and Indian, no matter what the color of our skin, no matter if we are Catholic or Protestant, Muslim or Jew, or if you choose not to believe at all, the idea is that each and every one of us is created free and equal. The idea that we will rise or fall based on our merit. The idea of a free press, free speech, due process of law, the right to vote or peacefully assemble and protest for or against this cause or that. The idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All of that is what our fallen believed in and what they embodied. All of the values and principles embedded in our Constitution and made real in our daily lives were paid for with the blood of the fallen on this place at 9:37 on September 11th, 2001. Those ideas were and still are hated by our enemies, the fascists, the Nazis, the communists, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, the Taliban, authoritarians, dictators, and tyrants of all kinds. They hate those ideas. They hate those values. And on 9/11, they tried to destroy us. They tried to divide us, and they tried ultimately in vain to terrify us. But their murderous intent was never realized. Instead of sowing fear and division, we gathered in New York and Pennsylvania, right here at the Pentagon, and we came together as a nation with acts of heroism, unity, and perseverance, many conducted by you in the audience today. While we grieve for our fallen, we celebrate the life they led. Their legacy lives on in the idea that is America, and no terrorist anywhere on earth can ever destroy that idea. Since that dark day 20 years ago, the men and women of the United States military have fought tirelessly to defeat terrorists in Afghanistan and around the world. Both at home and abroad, their talent and their efforts and their courage, their personal valor has carried this fight day and night. We did not fear what was in front of us because we loved what was behind us. 800,000 of us in uniform served in Afghanistan over the last 20 years. Tens of thousands more have served elsewhere in the collective fight against terrorism. And thousands more stand watch today all around the world. 2,461 of us gave the last full measure of devotion, including 13 just 2 weeks ago, while 20,698 of us were wounded, and untold thousands more suffer with the invisible wounds of war as we close this terrible chapter in our nation's history. For 2 consecutive decades, our men and women in uniform, along with our brothers and sisters in the intelligence and law enforcement agencies, protected our nation from terrorist attack. For those of us in uniform, for our families who have suffered and sacrificed along our side, for those who have supported us, these have been incredibly emotional, exhausting, and trying years. We are all now, this very day, very conflicted with feelings of pain and anger, sorrow and sadness, combined with pride and resilience. But one thing I am certain of, for every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine, for every CIA officer, for every FBI agent, for every cop and fireman, you did your duty. Your service mattered. Your sacrifice was not in vain. So let us resolve. Let us resolve here, yet again today, on this hallowed ground, to never forget those who were murdered by terrorists. Never forget those who rushed to save their lives and gave theirs in exchange. Never forget the sons and the daughters, the brothers and sisters and the mothers and fathers who gave their tomorrows for our todays. Honor them. Honor them today and forever. Honor the cause they served. Honor their commitment to this experiment in liberty that we call the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure and deep honor to introduce Secretary of Defense of the United States of America, the Honorable Lloyd J. Austin.
This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters.
And may all the good that you have done be your legacy that continues to live on. God bless you all, and God bless America.
And my sister, my beloved sister Diane Gladstone, your extended family misses you and loves you every day. Your nieces miss you. Your great nephews and great niece miss you and will love you forever.
Ready? Neil Matthew Dollard.
James Domanico.
Belinda Pascua Domingo.
Alberto Dominguez.
Carlos Dominguez.
Jerome Mark Patrick Dominguez.
Kevin W. Donnelly.
Jacqueline Donovan.
William H. Donovan.
Stephen Scott Dorff.
Thomas Dowd.
Kevin Christopher Dowdell.
Mary Yolanda Dowling.
Raymond Matthew Downey Sr.
Frank Joseph Doyle.
Joseph Michael Doyle.
Randall Drake.
Patrick Joseph Driscoll.
Stephen Patrick Driscoll.
Charles A. Dross III.
Myrna A. Duarte.
Luke A. Dudek.
Christopher Michael Duffy.
Gerard J. Duffy.
Michael Joseph Duffy.
Thomas W. Duffy.
Antoinette Duger.
Jackie Sayed Dugan.
Safri Ducat.
Patrick Dunn.
Felidia Gail Dunn Jones.
Christopher Joseph Dunn.
Richard Anthony Dunstan.
Patrick Thomas Dwyer.
Joseph Anthony Ecobachi.
John Bruce Eagleson.
Edward T. Earhart.
Robert Douglas Eaton.
Dean Philip Eberling.
Margaret Ruth Echterman.
And my brother, Ronald Philip Klepfer, Police Officer, Emergency Service, Truck 7. Miss you, love you.
And my uncle, Martín Morales Empaltecatl. Tío, aún te extrañamos. En la familia aún contamos tus historias y nos gusta recordarte como el gran ser humano que fuiste. Y aunque han pasado 20 años desde que no estás con nosotros, sabemos que no te perdimos. Ganamos un ángel.
Paul Robert Ekna.
Constantine Economos.
Barbara G. Edwards.
Dennis Michael Edwards.
Michael Hardy Edwards.
Christine Egan.
Lisa Aaron Egan.
Martin J. Egan Jr.
Michael Egan.
Samantha Martin Egan.
Carol Egger.
Lisa Karen Ehrlich.
John Ernst Eichler.
Eric Adam Eisenberg.
Daphne Ferlinda Elder.
Michael J. Elferis.
Mark Joseph Ellis.
Valerie Silver Ellis.
Albert Alfie William Elmery.
Robert R. Elseth.
Edgar Hendricks Emery Jr.
Doris Sukyun Eng.
Christopher Epps.
Ulf Ram Erickson.
Erwin L. Erker.
William John Irwin.
Sarah Ali Escarcega.
Jose Espinal.
Fanny Espinoza.
Billy Scoop Esposito.
Bridget Ann Esposito.
Francis Esposito.
Michael A. Esposito.
Ruben Esquilin Jr.
Sadie Et.
Barbara G. Etzold.
Eric Brian Evans.
Robert Edward Evans.
Meredith Emily June Ewert.
Catherine K. Fagan.
And my uncle, Łukasz Tomasz Milewski, who I never met, but I miss very dearly. My mom always talks about how much of an amazing brother you were. We were so sad you had to go so soon and so young, but I'll love you forever and you'll never be forgotten.
And my uncle, Paul Edward Jeffers. 20 years later, we are still reminded of you and think of you every day. We love you and we miss you.
Patricia Mary Fagan.
Ivan Krillos Fairbanks Barbosa.
Keith George Fairbairn.
Sandra Fajardo Smith.
Charles S. Falkenberg.
Dana Falkenberg.
Zoe Falkenberg,
Jamie L. Fallon,
William F. Fallon,
William Lawrence Fallon Jr.,
Anthony J. Fallone Jr.,
Dolores Bridget Finelli,
Robert John Fangman,
John Joseph Fanning,
Kathleen Ann Farragher,
Thomas James Farino,
Nancy C. Dolaziski Farley,
Paige Marie Farley Hackle,
Elizabeth Ann Farmer,
Douglas John Farnham,
John Gerard Farrell,
John W. Farrell,
Terrence Patrick Farrell,
Joseph D. Farley,
Thomas Patrick Farley,
Saeed Abdul Fattah,
Christopher Edward Fawnin,
Wendy R. Faulkner,
Shannon Marie Fava,
Bernard D. Favuza,
Robert Fazio Jr.,
Ronald Carl Fazio Sr.,
William M. Feehan,
Francis Jude Feely,
Garth Aaron Feeney,
Sean Bernard Fegan,
Lee S. Failing,
Peter Adam Fiedelberg,
Alan D. Feinberg,
Rosa Marie Feliciano,
and my uncle Jimmy Riches, forever in our hearts. God bless America.
and my brother Jerome Mark Patrick Dominguez. No one could really take you away from us, and you've been with us every moment since. You'd be really proud of your nephew and niece, and we love you very much.
Edward P. Felt,
Edward Thomas Fergus Jr.,
George J. Ferguson III,
J. Joseph Ferguson,
Henry Fernandez,
Judy Hazel Santillion Fernandez,
Julio Fernandez,
Elisa Giselle Farina,
Anne Marie Celerin Ferreira,
Robert John Ferris,
David Francis Ferrugio,
Louis V. Fersini Jr.,
Michael David Ferrugio,
Bradley James Fetchett,
Jennifer Louise Fialco,
Kristen Nicole Fidel,
Amelia V. Fields,
Samuel Fields,
Alexander Milan Filipov,
Michael Bradley Finnegan,
Timothy J. Finnerty,
Michael C. Fiore,
Stephen J. Fiorelli,
Paul M. Fiore,
John B. Fiorito,
John R. Fisher,
Andrew Fisher,
Bennett Lawson Fisher,
Gerald P. Fisher,
John Roger Fisher,
Thomas J. Fisher,
Lucy A. Fishman,
Ryan D. Fitzgerald,
Thomas James Fitzpatrick,
Richard P. Fitzsimmons,
Salvatore Fume Fredo,
Darlene E. Flagg,
Wilson F. Flagg,
Christina Donovan Flannery,
Eileen Fletcher,
and my father-in-law, Lieutenant John A. Creasy, FDNY. Your family loves you and misses you very much. And thank you for sending your son to me. He's a wonderful husband, the best husband a girl could ask for, and I know he learned that from you. We miss you and we love you very much.
In loving memory of my brother, James Patrick Ladley, we miss you, Jim. We're so proud of your children, Elizabeth and James. Life has never been the same since you're gone. God bless America.
Andre G. Fletcher.
Carl M. Flickinger.
Matthew M. Floco.
John Joseph Florio.
Joseph Walkden Flounders.
Carol Ann Flyzik.
David Fodor.
Michael N. Fodor.
Stephen Mark Fogel.
Thomas J. Foley.
Jane C. Folger.
David J. Fontana.
Chi Min Fu.
Delrose E. Forbes Cheatham.
Godwin Ford.
Donald A. Foreman.
Christopher Hugh Forsyth.
Claudia Alicia Foster.
Noel John Foster.
Sandra N. Foster.
Anna Fosterus.
Robert Joseph Foti.
Jeffrey Fox.
Virginia Elizabeth Fox.
Pauline Francis.
Virgin Lucy Francis.
Gary J. Frank.
Morton H. Frank.
Peter Christopher Frank.
Colleen L. Fraser.
Richard K. Fraser.
Kevin J. Frawley.
Clyde Fraser Jr.
Lillian Inez Frederick.
Andrew Fredericks.
Tamitha Freeman.
Brett Owen Freeman.
Peter L. Freund.
Arlene Eva Fried.
Alan W. Friedlander.
And my uncle Jason Malabuyok de Chavez. We love you and we miss you. Thank you for being our guardian angel.
And my hero and my guardian angel, my uncle, Lieutenant Jeffrey P. Walls, FDNY, Ladder 9, Great Jones Street. Although I never got the privilege to meet you, so many people tell me that I remind them of you in so many ways, and I'm so honored to have your name as my middle name. We love and miss you dearly.
Andrew Keith Friedman.
Paul J. Friedman.
Greg J. Froner.
Lisa Ann Frost.
Peter Christian Fry.
Clement A. Fumando.
Stephen Elliott Furman.
Paul James Fermato.
Carlton Douglas Bay Fife.
Frederick Neil Gabler.
Richard Peter Gabriel.
Richard S. Gabriel.
James Andrew Gadiel.
Pamela Lee Gaff.
Irvin Vincent Galliard.
Deanna Lynn Galante.
Grace Catherine Galante.
Anthony Edward Gallagher.
Daniel James Gallagher.
John Patrick Gallagher.
Lords J. Galletti.
Kono E. Gallo.
Vincent Gallucci.
Thomas E. Galvin.
Giovanna Galetta Gambali.
Thomas Gambino Jr.
Gian F. Gamboa.
Ronald L. Gamboa.
Peter James Ganchi Jr.
Michael Gann.
Charles William Garbarini.
Andrew Sonny Garcia.
Caesar R. Garcia.
David Garcia.
Jorge Luis Moron Garcia.
Juan Garcia.
Marilyn Del Carmen Garcia.
Christopher Samuel Gardner.
Douglas Benjamin Gardner.
Harvey Joseph Gardner III.
And my cousin, victim of the 93 bombing, Johnny Boy DiGiovanni. We love you We miss you very much. Hope to see you one day.
And my grandfather, Rick Knott Jaggernaut. We love you and we miss you. You live on through all your children and all your grandchildren.
Or something? Okay. Jeffrey Brian Gardner.
Thomas A. Gardner.
William Arthur Gardner.
Frank Garfey.
Rocco Nino Gargano.
James M. Gartenberg.
Matthew David Garvey.
Bruce Gary.
Boyd Allen Gatton.
Donald Richard Gavigan, Jr.
Peter Allen Gay.
Terrence D. Gazani.
Gary Paul Guidel.
Paul Hamilton Geyer.
Julie M. Geis.
Paul Gerard Jelinas.
Stephen Paul Geller.
Howard G. Gelling, Jr.
Peter Victor Jenko, Jr.
Stephen Gregory Genovese.
Elaine Gentle.
Linda M. George.
Edward F. Garrity.
Suzanne Garrity.
Ralph Gerhardt.
Robert Gerlich.
Dennis P. Germain.
Marina Romanovna Gertzberg.
Susan M. Getzendoner.
Lawrence D. Getzfred.
James G. Geyer.
Cortez Gee.
Joseph M. Giacone.
Vincent Francis Giamona.
Deborah Lynn Gibbon.
James Andrew Giberson.
Brenda C. Gibson.
Craig Neil Gibson.
Ronnie E. Geese.
Andrew Clive Gilbert.
And to my cousin, Janine Nicole Gonzalez, the thing I remember the most about you is your smile. And the illustrious light of that smile continues to guide our family every single day. I ask that every single one of us here call upon the strength of our loved ones to help navigate us through tough times and rough roads. May we find the love to connect us and weed out all that divides us. And most importantly, we never forget.
My brother, Jimmy Ostrowski, Jimmy O. Jimmy, we miss you. Your kind blue eyes, your dimples, your sense of humor, but most importantly, your warm and caring ways that left a loving footprint in all of our hearts that we'll cherish forever. Love you, Jimmy.
Timothy Paul Gilbert.
Paul Stewart Gilby.
Paul John Gill.
Mark Y. Giles.
Evan Hunter Gillette.
Ronald Lawrence Gilligan.
Romney C. Gillis.
Laura Gilly.
John F. Ginley.
Donna Marie Giordano.
Jeffrey John Giordano.
John Giordano.
Stephen A. Giorgetti.
Martin Giovanazzo.
Kumkum Girolamo.
Salvatore Guito.
Cynthia Giuliano.
Mon Jean-Bilange.
Diane Gladstone.
Keith Alexander Glasgow.
Thomas Erwin Glasser.
Edmund Glazer.
Harry Glenn,
Barry H. Glick,
Jeremy Logan Glick,
William Robert Gottschalk,
John T. Nassau,
Brian F. Goldberg,
Michael Gariumela,
Michelle Goldstein,
Jeffrey G. Goldfland,
Stephen Ian Goldstein,
Monica Goldstein,
Andrew H. Golkin,
Ronald F. Galinsky,
Enrique Antonio Gomez,
Dennis James Gomes,
Manuel Gomez Jr.,
Jose Bienvenido Gomez, and my brother Luis Eduardo Torres. I miss you, I love you.
and my brother Jason Michael Cephalou. Jay, we love and miss you every day. We can't thank you enough for all the hilarious stories and memorable laughs you left us with. You're deeply missed by your parents, your sister and brother-in-law, all your cousins, your best friends, and me. We live every day with enthusiasm and gratitude as you would have wanted.
Wilder Alfredo Gomez,
Janine Nicole Gonzalez,
Maurizio Gonzalez,
Rosa J. Gonzalez,
Lynn Catherine Goodchild,
Calvin Joseph Gooding,
Peter Morgan Goodrich,
Harry Goody,
Kiran Kumar Reddy Goku,
Catherine C. Gorea,
Lisa Fenn Goldenstein,
Corrine Gordon,
Sebastian Gorky,
Kieran Joseph Gorman,
Thomas Edward Gorman,
Michael Edward Gould,
O. Kristen Osterholm White Gould,
Douglas Allen Gallo,
Yuji Goya,
John Richard Grabowski,
Christopher Michael Grady,
Edwin J. Graff III,
David Martin Graffman,
Gilbert Franco Granados,
Lauren Catusi Grancolas and her unborn child,
Elvira Granito,
Winston Arthur Grant,
Christopher S. Gray,
Ian J. Gray,
James Michael Gray,
Tara McLeod Gray,
John M. Grazioso,
Timothy George Grazioso,
Derek Arthur Green,
Wade B. Green,
Wanda Anita Green,
Elaine Myra Greenberg,
Donald Freeman Green,
Gail R. Green,
James Arthur Greenleaf Jr.,
and my cousin Melissa Candida Doy. Melissa, you were so much more than 9/11. We love you. We miss you. I pray for everyone who's here. I send a blessing to each and every one of us. And I just ask that we love and be kind to one another. God protect our country.
and my uncle Paul Frederick Beattini. Uncle Paul, we love and miss you every day. Your memory and legacy is carried on by your amazing daughters, your amazing wife, your siblings, the entire family. We love and miss you. I can't believe it's been 20 years, and it's such an honor to be here with everybody, remembering 20 years later. God bless.
Eileen Marcia Greenstein.
Elizabeth Martin Gregg.
Denise Marie Gregory.
Donald H. Gregory.
Florence Moran Gregory.
Pedro Grahan.
John Michael Griffin.
Tawana Sherry Griffin.
Joan Donna Griffith.
Warren Grifka.
Ramon B. Grijalvo.
Joseph Grillo. Joseph F. Grillo.
David Joseph Grimner.
Francis Edward Grogan.
Linda Gronland.
Kenneth George Grizalis.
Joseph Grzelick.
Matthew James Grizamowski.
Robert Joseph Shar.
Liming Gu.
Richard J. Guadagno.
Fighter Jose A. Guadalupe.
Cindy Yan Zhu Guan.
Lieutenant Jeffrey E. Guja.
Joseph P. Gullickson.
Babita Gujamati Guman.
Douglas Brian Gurian.
Janet Ruth Gustafson.
Philip T. Guza.
Barbara Guzardo.
Peter Mark Gulivari.
Gary Robert Haig.
Andrea Lynn Haberman.
Barbara Mary Habib.
Philip Hensler.
Nizam A. Hafiz.
Karen Elizabeth Haggerty.
Stephen Michael Haggis.
Mary Lou Haid.
Lieutenant David Halderman.
And my uncle Don Merkovich. We love you and miss you, and we're going to bring that dime and bring it up again next year.
And my cousin, firefighter Dennis Patrick Oberg, Ladder 105. Cousin Dennis, we miss you with every passing day. Even the little ones have come to know and love you. Claire, Madeline, Colleen, Georgie, Rocco, and Arabella. We know your spirit is with us. So until we meet again, please keep watching over us.
Miley Rachel Hale.
Diane Hale McKenzie.
Richard B. Hall.
Stanley R. Hall.
Boswald George Hall.
Robert J. Halligan.
Vincent Gerard Halloran.
Carolyn B. Howman.
James Douglas Halvorson.
Mohammed Salam Hamdani.
Felicia Hamilton.
Robert W. Hamilton.
Carl Max Hammond, Jr.
Frederick K. Hahn.
Christopher James Hanley.
Sean S. Hanley.
Valerie Joan Hanna.
Thomas Paul Hannafin.
Kevin James Hannaford, Sr.
Michael Lawrence Hannon.
Dana Ray Hannon.
Christine Lee Hansen.
Peter Burton Hansen.
Sue Kim Hansen.
Vasilios G. Haramis.
James A. Harlan.
Gerald Francis Hardacre.
Jeffrey Pike Hardy.
T.J. Hargrave.
Daniel Edward Harlan.
Francis Harros.
Harvey L. Harrell.
Stephen G. Harrell.
Melissa Harrington Hughes.
Aisha Ann Harris.
Stuart D. Harris.
John Patrick Hart.
Eric Hartono.
John Clinton Hartz.
Emmerich Harvey.
and my brother-in-law, who I love like a big brother, Peter Teague Milano. Your memory and spirit live on through Patty, Peter, Jessica, your 5 beautiful granddaughters, your entire family and friends. May you rest in peace. Till we meet again, we all love and miss you, Pete. And may God bless our country, our military, and all first responders.
And to our sister, Celeste Torres Victoria. Celeste was a model. She was our light, with a vivacious and dynamic personality. When she walked into the room, it lit up. She was intelligent, beautiful, elegant, a zest for life. Celeste attended NYU and graduated cum laude in journalism. As a woman of the media, she used that platform to advocate for women's rights and justice. Celeste left behind her beautiful daughter, Jasmine, who graduated from Duke University on a full academic scholarship. We will always miss and cherish the memories of our sister, Celeste Torres Victoria.
Peter Paul Hashem.
Thomas Theodore Haskell Jr.
Timothy Sean Haskell.
Joseph John Hassan III.
Leonard W. Hatton Jr.
Terrence S. Hatton.
Michael Helmut Hobb.
Timothy Aaron Haviland.
Donald G. Havish Jr.
Anthony Maurice Hawkins.
Naguro Hamsatsu.
James Edward Hayden.
Robert J. Hayes.
Philip T. Hayes.
W. Ward Hines.
Scott Jordan Hazelcorn.
Michael K. Healy.
Roberta B. Heber.
Charles Francis Xavier Curran.
John F. Heffernan.
Michelle M. Hinberger.
Sheila M. S. Hine.
H. Joseph Heller Jr.
Joanne L. Heltebridal.
Ronald John Hemingway.
Mark F. Hemscott.
Ronnie Lee Henderson.
Brian Hennessy.
Edward R. Hennessy Jr.
Michelle Marie Enrique.
Joseph Patrick Henry.
William L. Henry Jr.
Catherine Henry Robertson.
John Christopher Henwood.
Robert Allen Hepburn.
Mary Herencia.
Lindsay C. Harkness III.
Harvey Robert Hermer.
Humberto Hernandez.
Raul H. Hernandez.
I never saw myself before you looked at me, before you kissed my lips, before you smiled at me, and I knew that day I would never be alone. And it's the only way. Life never got me low, tears never broke me down. Inside I always know I'd be by your side, so I'd never be alone. But all that is different right now, and everything is solid but the ground. You'll never be alone. You'll never be alone. If you fall, I'll catch you. I won't ever let you be alone. I never want you to feel uncertainty. I listen to every word, believe every single dream. The world has a funny way of making you feel like you're alone. And when trials and troubles come, loved one, you know that your welfare is my concern. And if I'm far away, you know that I'll find my way back to your side. When the tide starts to roll and the wind starts to blow, when the thing you're afraid of is invisible, you'll never be alone. You'll never be alone. If you fall, I'll catch you. I won't ever let you be alone. If you fall, I'll catch you. I won't ever let you be alone. No, you'll never be alone.
This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters Live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters Live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters Live.
All that join us today, near or far, I welcome you to the 20th Remembrance Ceremony of September 11th, 2001, here at the Flight 93 National Memorial. To the men and women that serve aboard the USS Somerset here today, and all of those active duty members and veterans in attendance, near and far, you honor us with your presence. And we must never forget that there are thousands of your brethren gravely injured, or that have lost their lives while serving, or as a result of their service during these past 20 years. Their loss reminds us that September 11th was not a singular event, but a date that marked a cultural paradigm shift in our country and for freedom-loving people across the globe. To the families of Flight 93 here and at home, honoring a loved one, my heart goes out to you. Having lost a brother on September 11th, I too live with a grief that is deep, consuming, and always present. For those that lost loved ones in the terrorist attacks on our country 20 years ago today, you know that we can never move on, but that we must continue to move forward. On September 11th, 2001, we lost a total of 2,977 innocent souls. And that morning, more than 6,000 people were injured in the attack on our country. 2,606 died in the World Trade Center, 125 at the Pentagon, and 246 innocent people were murdered on the 4 hijacked planes, 40 of which were on Flight 93, brought down here in a field just outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania, as our heroes fought to overcome the evil brought to our shores that morning. To date, an additional 2,000 first responders that took part in the immediate rescue and continued recovery efforts have died from related illnesses. And with every month, we continue to lose more. The ripple effect of September 11th is unfathomable. There are still many questions to be answered about the day, facts to be declassified and released, and justice to be served. So much of September 11th involved pain, loss, and terror. Our lives were never to be the same. And yet, from the ashes of the day, stories of heroism and extraordinary courage emerged, providing hope to a world adrift in fear and confusion. First responders running into burning buildings with little regard for their own safety, while citizens inside those buildings refused to run from danger so that they could offer assistance and comfort to those less able, surely knowing that their decision would cost them all but their honor. And here in the skies over southwestern Pennsylvania, a group of 40 individuals, mostly strangers, when becoming aware of what was taking place on the ground that morning, found the courage to band together at a moment's notice, without regard for political, religious, professional, or cultural differences. Our 40, under extreme conditions, were able to change the course of history, averting the potential of our final image that fateful day being the Capitol dome, collapsed and on fire, the greatest symbol of our democracy in ruins. As the personification of that symbol, our heroes embraced the tenets of democracy that no expression of terrorism will ever extinguish. E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. Our heroes united. They formulated a plan when confronted by a great evil. They prayed. They voted on a course of action, and then they struck. Though in the process they lost their lives, there is no question that they won the first battle in this current war on terrorism. 35 minutes, 9:28 to 10:03 a.m. From the initial terrorist attack on Flight 93 until the moment the plane came down on our sacred ground. A lifetime, a moment, forever, yesterday. Here on the ground, first responders, aware of what was taking place in New York, at the Pentagon, and in the midst of fear and uncertainty, instinctively reacted to the horror that was brought to their rural community in a way that has forever altered their lives. These proud men and women of Somerset County and the surrounding region demonstrated everything that is awesome about the United States of America. Terrorism met rural America, proud, strong, determined. The relationship our families and our nation has forged with this local community is extraordinary. To our extended family here in the Somerset County region, you will forever have our complete gratitude. You have embraced us and the story of our loved ones in a selfless, fiercely protective fashion, even as you continue to move forward, carrying the pain and anguish thrust upon your community 20 years ago. Recently, I was listening to former Congressman Trey Gowdy discussing the ultimate sacrifices made by our men and women in uniform. During his remarks, I was struck by a common theme that I do not recall highlighted in prior years. It was a theme that I felt strongly was consistent with the story of the heroes of Flight 93 and all those we lost on September 11th. I experienced a moment of clarity that brought my understanding of heroism and of sacrifice to an uncomfortable reality, moving me to question who we are as a society. What struck such a nerve was not the annual reminder to honor and remember the thousands of lives ripped from the embrace of their families the morning of September 11th, 2001, including the 40 heroes of Flight 93. But rather the question to be considered is, are we worthy of their sacrifice? Are we worthy? Do we as individuals, communities, and as a country conduct ourselves in a manner that would make those that sacrificed so much and fought so hard on September 11th proud of who we have become? Do we share the same willingness to sacrifice for others in little ways as well as large? To act when necessary for no other reason than to accomplish a noble goal, egoless, and with no other motivation than to do what is right? Do we cherish the hard-earned freedoms that we enjoy, secured every generation by those willing to stand toe-to-toe with anyone or any country willing to steal them away? The real question that we must all ask ourselves is, have we as a society moved on and left the hard-earned lessons of September 11th behind? Have we become desensitized to what really happened that fateful morning? Have we diminished the courageous actions of these brave men and women, these heroes we honor today at the Flight 93 National Memorial, as well as those in New York City and at the Pentagon, by relegating their stories to the history books? As a country, we shouldn't seek to move on, but rather let us dedicate ourselves to moving forward, honoring and remembering the sacrifices made on September 11th, the lessons we learned, remembering the names, the individuals, and the collective actions of so many that day. Let us be worthy of the selfless sacrifices that were made. Let us remember who we became on September 12th. In the aftermath of September 11th, we saw beyond our differences so that in unity we could survive the devastation of the day. E pluribus unum. Out of many, we became one. That is the inspiration of September 11th. Whether it was in the air or on the ground that morning, heroism was revealed. History was made, and the course of our lives were changed forever. The path we follow is up to us. Let us strive to be worthy of those we lost that morning, our 40 heroes, our loved ones, and the thousands of other innocent lives extinguished that day and in the aftermath of September 11th. E pluribus unum. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordy. An enduring moment in the days after September 11th occurred when President George W. Bush used a bullhorn to speak to firefighters at Ground Zero in New York. His words provided sorely needed encouragement to a grieving country. A common thread of heroism running through each of the 3 attack sites on September 11th was the devotion to duty shown by our first responders. They made the nation proud then, and they continue to do that now. Thank you to all of our first responders across these great United States, for we are truly grateful for your service. I'm greatly honored now to present our next speaker, the 43rd President of the United States of America, George W. Bush. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Accompanying him today is First Lady Laura Bush, who occupies a special place in the hearts and families of Flight 93, for on September 17th, Mrs. Bush traveled here to offer her condolences and to those of America to the families and passengers of Flight 93. President Bush is fondly remembered by everyone involved in the effort to commemorate the heroes of Flight 93 for signing the act that created this national memorial on September 24th, 2002. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Laura and I are honored to be with you. Madam Vice President, Vice President Cheney, Governor Wolf, Secretary Holland, and distinguished guests. 20 years ago, we all found in different ways, in different places, but all at the same moment, that our lives would be changed forever. The world was loud with carnage and sirens, and then quiet with missing voices that would never be heard again. These lives remain precious to our country and infinitely precious to many of you. Today we remember your loss, we share your sorrow, and we honor the men and women you have loved so long and so well. For those too young to recall that clear September day, it is hard to describe the mix of feelings we experienced. There was horror at the scale of destruction, and awe at the bravery and kindness that rose to meet it. There was shock at the audacity of evil, and gratitude for the heroism and decency that opposed it. In the sacrifice of the first responders, in the mutual aid of strangers, in the solidarity of grief and grace, the actions of an enemy revealed the spirit of a people, and we were proud of our wounded nation. In these memories, the passengers and crew of Flight 93 must always have an honored place. Here, the intended targets became the instruments of rescue, and many who are now alive owe a vast, unconscious debt to the defiance displayed in the skies above this field. It would be a mistake to idealize the experience of those terrible events. All that many people could initially see was the brute randomness of death. All that many could feel was unearned suffering. All that many could hear was God's terrible silence. There are many who still struggle with a lonely pain that cuts deep within. In those fateful hours, we learned other lessons as well. We saw that Americans were vulnerable, but not fragile, that they possess a core of strength that survives the worst that life can bring. We learned that bravery is more common than we imagined, emerging with sudden splendor in the face of death. We vividly felt how every hour with our loved ones was a temporary and holy gift. And we found that even the longest days end. Many of us have tried to make spiritual sense of these events. There is no simple explanation for the mix of providence and human will that sets the direction of our lives. But comfort can come from a different sort of knowledge. After wandering long and lost in the dark, many have found they were actually walking step by step toward grace. As a nation, our adjustments have been profound. Many Americans struggled to understand why an enemy would hate us with such zeal. The security measures incorporated into our lives are both sources of comfort and reminders of our vulnerability. And we have seen growing evidence that the dangers to our country can come not only across borders, but from violence that gathers within. There is little cultural overlap between violent extremists abroad and violent extremists at home. But in their disdain for pluralism, in their disregard for human life, in their determination to defile national symbols, they are children of the same foul spirit, and it is our continuing duty to confront them. After 9/11, millions of brave Americans stepped forward and volunteered to serve in the armed forces. The military measures taken over the last 20 years to pursue dangers at their source have led to debate. But one thing is certain. We owe an assurance to all who have fought our nation's most recent battles. Let me speak directly to veterans and people in uniform. The cause you pursued at the call of duty is the noblest America has to offer. You have shielded your fellow citizens from danger. You have defended the beliefs of your country and advanced the rights of the downtrodden. You have been the face of hope and mercy in dark places. You have been a force for good in the world. Nothing that has followed, nothing, can tarnish your honor or diminish your accomplishments. To you and to the honored dead, our country is forever grateful. In the weeks and months following the 9/11 attacks, I was proud to lead an amazing, resilient, united people. When it comes to the unity of America, those days seem distant from our own. Malign force seems at work in our common life that turns every disagreement into an argument and every argument into a clash of cultures. So much of our politics has become a naked appeal to anger, fear, and resentment. That leaves us worried about our nation and our future together. I come without explanations or solutions. I can only tell you what I've seen. On America's day of trial and grief, I saw millions of people instinctively grab for a neighbor's hand and rally to the cause of one another. That is the America I know. At a time when religious bigotry might have flowed freely, I saw Americans reject prejudice and embrace people of Muslim faith. That is the nation I know. At a time when nativism could have stirred hatred and violence against people perceived as outsiders, I saw Americans reaffirm their welcome to immigrants and refugees. That is the nation I know. At a time when some viewed the rising generation as individualistic and decadent, I saw young people embrace an ethic of service and rise to selfless action. That is the nation I know. This is not mere nostalgia. It is the truest version of ourselves. It is what we have been and what we can be again. 20 years ago, terrorists chose a random group of Americans on a routine flight to be collateral damage in a spectacular act of terror. The 33 passengers and 7 crew of Flight 93 could have been any group of citizens selected by fate. In a sense, they stood in for us all. The terrorists soon discovered that a random group of Americans is an exceptional group of people facing an impossible circumstance. They comforted their loved ones by phone, braced each other for action, and defeated the designs of evil. These Americans were brave, strong, and united in ways that shocked the terrorists, but should not surprise any of us. This is the nation we know. And whenever we need hope and inspiration, we can look to the skies and remember. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. President, for those beautiful, insightful words. You know, President Bush and Mrs. Bush have visited here several times, and we are delighted, of course, to have them with us here today, now that the memorial has been completed. The design for this memorial, which so beautifully frames this site, is the work of Paul Murdoch Architects. A deeply felt thank you to Paul and Melina Murdoch, who are with us here today, and to their entire team for envisioning the memorial that has literally sculpted the landscape in an unforgettable manner, and which will be visited by millions of people for generations to come. Once again, thank you to Paul and Melina and your entire team. Thank you, sir. How could we not embrace, to my left, the incredible men and women of the President's own United States Marine Band? Formed in 1798, it's America's oldest continuously active professional musical organization. Think about that. Its mission is to perform for the United States President and the Commandant of the Marine Corps. We are truly privileged to enjoy this national treasure. Ladies and gentlemen, please once again join me in thanking and appreciating the incredible President's own. Thank you, Colonel. At this time, I am proud to welcome the Secretary of the United States Department of the Interior, Deb Haaland, the 54th person entrusted with that responsibility. She leads a department which employs more than 70,000 people, whose mission it is to protect and manage this country's natural resources, as well as our beautiful and absolutely powerful cultural heritage. Would you all please join me in welcoming Secretary Deb Haaland.
Thank you all so much. President Bush, thank you for your inspiring words. Madam Vice President, very honored to be here with you. Families, friends, active duty service personnel, thank you so much for the opportunity to join you all on this somber anniversary. 20 years ago, I was waking up to get my first grader ready for school and was stunned by the news on the radio. I rushed to turn on the TV and watch the imagery in disbelief. Like many parents, I nervously took my child to school. The pickup line was longer than usual that day. I know parents just wanted to hold their children close as soon as they could. Instead of being in a rush to get to their next event, soccer practice, or home for homework, parents, students, teachers, and school support staff joined hands around the school for a moment of silence. We mourned together. Every year on this day, we remember those we lost. We remember the first responders who ran in when everyone was running out. We remember the emergency crews who helped in the aftermath of that fateful day. We remember where we were and how we felt. And on this hallowed ground, we remember the heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice to save others. We honor their families, and we recognize the selfless patriotism they demonstrated on that September morning 20 years ago. It is with the support of the families of Flight 93, the Flight 93 Advisory Commission, the Flight 93 Memorial Task Force, Friends of Flight 93, and the National Park Foundation that this memorial serves as an enduring reminder of their bravery. There's no way to know how many lives these heroes saved, but we show our gratitude by visiting this place, gathering with loved ones, and most importantly, building a country where their children and grandchildren can thrive. Building a country of which they would be proud. We at the Interior Department will live up to that sacred responsibility by being good stewards of this memorial for generations to come. I appreciate everyone who works so hard every day, including our National Park Service employees and the volunteers, to care for this land, to honor it for those who were lost, so that we may never forget their sacrifice. My child is grown now. Many like them have little, if any, memory of that day when our nation came together in grief. But thanks to this memorial, they and other children will know the story of what happened here. A set of brave individuals who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Their story will live on. To continue our remembrance, it is my honor and privilege to introduce our esteemed Vice President, Kamala Harris.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. President Bush, it is my honor to be on this stage with you and Mrs. Laura Bush, and thank you, President Bush, for your words. They are as resonant today as the words you spoke 20 years ago. Governor Tom Wolf, Superintendent Stephen Clark, Madam Secretary, and the President of the Families of Flight 93, Gordon Feld. It is truly an honor to be with all of you at this field of honor. We are joined today, of course, by the family and friends of the 40 passengers and crew members of Flight 93. And we stand today with all those who lost someone on September 11th, 2001, and in the aftermath of the attacks. So many in our nation, too many in our nation, have deeply felt the passage of time these last 20 years. Every birthday, your loved one missed. Every holiday, every time her favorite team won or his favorite song came on the radio.
every time you've tucked in your children or dropped them off at college. You have felt every day, every week, and every year that has passed these 20 years. So please know your nation sees you, and we stand with you, and we support you. We are gathered today on hallowed ground, at this place that has been sanctified by sacrifice, to honor the heroism that the 40 passengers and crew members showed in the face of grave terrorism. I remember when I first learned about what happened on that fateful flight. What happened on Flight 93 told us then, and it still tells us, so much about the courage of those on board who gave everything they possibly could, about the resolve of the first responders who risked everything, and about the resilience of the American people. On this 20th anniversary, on this solemn day of remembrance, we must challenge ourselves, yes, to look back, to remember, for the sake of our children, for the sake of their children. And for that reason, we must also look forward. We must also look toward the future. Because in the end, I do believe that is what the 40 were fighting for. Their future and ours. On the days that followed, September 11th, 2001, we were all reminded that unity is possible in America. We were reminded also that unity is imperative in America. It is essential to our shared prosperity, to our national security, and to our standing in the world. And by unity, I don't mean uniformity. We had differences of opinion in 2001, as we do in 2021. And I believe that in America, our diversity is our strength. At the same time, we saw after 9/11 how fear can be used to sow division in our nation. As Sikh and Muslim Americans were targeted because of how they looked or how they worshiped. But we also saw what happens when so many Americans, in the spirit of our nation, stand in solidarity with all people and their fellow American, with those who experience violence and discrimination, when we stand together. And looking back, we remember the vast majority of Americans were unified in purpose to help families heal, to help communities recover, to defend our nation, and to keep us safe. In a time of outright terror, we turned toward each other. In the face of a stranger, we saw a neighbor and a friend. That time reminded us the significance and the strength of our unity as Americans, and that it is possible in America. So, moments from now, we will leave this hallowed place, still carrying with us the pain of this loss, this tremendous loss, and still, the future will continue to unfold. We will face new challenges, challenges that we could not have seen 20 years ago. We will seize opportunities that were at one time unimaginable. And we know that what lies ahead is not certain. It is never certain. It has never been. But I know this. If we do the hard work of working together as Americans, if we remain united in purpose, we will be prepared for whatever comes next. The 40 passengers and crew members of Flight 93, as we all know, they didn't know each other. Most of them didn't know each other. They were different people from different places. They were on that particular flight for different reasons. But they did not focus on what may separate us. No, they focused on what we all share, on the humanity we all share. In a matter of minutes, in the most dire of circumstances, the 40 responded as one. They fought for their own lives and to save the lives of countless others at our nation's capital. After today, it is my hope and prayer that we continue to honor their courage, their conviction, with our own, that we honor their unity by strengthening our common bonds, by strengthening our global partnerships, and by always living out our highest ideals. This work will not be easy, it never has been, and it will take all of us believing in who we are as a nation, and it will take all of us going forth to work together. Thank you all. May God bless you, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you again, Madam Vice President.
This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service.
Martin.
Brian E. Martineau.
William J. Martin, Jr.
Edward J. Martinez.
Betsy Martinez.
Robert Gabriel Martinez.
Jose Angel Martinez, Jr.
Lizzie D. Martinez Calderon.
Waleska Martinez.
Anne Marie Martino Kramer.
Paul Richard Martini.
Bernard Mascarenas.
Joseph A. Mascali.
Ada L. Mason Acker.
Stephen Frank Macy. And my mother, Dorothy R. Morgan. You are loved and missed dearly. Thank you for continuously watching over me and your grandchildren. We love you.
And my father, William Lawrence Fallon, Jr., he was an incredible husband and brother and son and father, and would have been an incredible grandfather. I know he would have loved his granddaughters. For the people here, for the family members who are still hurting, that they don't get to have the rest of your life, that the enemies and the terrorists don't get to take the rest of your life away from you. I pray for healing. I pray for hope. I pray for peace, that you find it. For our country, from our government down to our local communities, that we remember 9/11 And when we say never forget, that it's not just a word or a catchy phrase, that it's that we never forget the American unity that we felt after those days. That's what mattered. It was the response. And we can get there. And that we value our American lives more than just whose side are you on, left or right, and whatever else. God bless America, and God bless our military.
Nicholas George Massa.
Patricia Ann Cimaroli Masari.
Michael Massaroli.
Philip William Mastrangea Jr.
Rudy Mastro Cinque.
Joseph Mathai.
Charles William Mathers.
William A. Matheson.
Marcelo Matriciano.
Margaret Elaine Mattick.
Dean E. Matson.
Robert D. Matson.
Walter A. Matuza Jr.
Timothy J. Maud.
Jill Moorer Campbell.
Charles A. Morrow Jr.
Charles J. Morrow.
Dorothy Morrow.
Nancy T. Morrow.
Robert J. Maxwell.
Renee A. May.
Tyrone May.
Keithroy Marcellus Maynard.
Robert J. Mayo.
Kathy N. Mazza.
Edward Mazzella Jr.
Jennifer Lynn Mazzotta.
Karya Mumbaya.
James Joseph McAllery Jr.
Brian Gerard McAleese.
Patricia Ann McKenney.
Colin R. MacArthur.
John Kevin McAvoy.
Kenneth M. McBrayer.
Brendan F. McCabe.
Michael McCabe.
Thomas Joseph McCann.
Justin McCarthy.
Kevin M. McCarthy.
Michael Desmond McCarthy.
And my uncle, Port Authority Police Officer Alphonse Joseph Niedermeyer III, who I miss and love very much.
And my father, Gary Harold. Dad, we miss you every day. Please continue to watch over us, especially your 3 grandchildren and the new one on the way. I speak to my kids all the time about you. They know how Pop was a hero who helped many of people down on that horrible day. Lucas has your sweet personality. Ashlyn is strong, sassy, and funny, and Declan could be your twin. Thank you for always being my guiding light and helping me to stay strong. I hope I could be half the parent that you were to us. I miss you every day.
Shall we remove?
Wait. Robert G. McCarthy.
Stanley McCaskill.
Katie Marie McCloskey.
Juliana Valentine McCourt.
Ruth Madeline McCourt.
Charles Austin McCrane.
Tonielle F. McDay.
Matthew T. McDermott.
Joseph P. McDonald.
Brian Grady McDonald.
Michael P. McDonald.
John F. McDowell Jr.
Eamon J. McEnany.
John Thomas McErlin Jr.
Daniel Francis McGinley.
Mark Ryan McGinley.
William E. McGinn.
Thomas Henry McGinnis.
Michael Gregory McGinty.
Ann Walls McGovern.
Scott Martin McGovern.
William J. McGovern.
Stacy Senes McGowan.
Francis
Noel McGinn.
Thomas F. McGinnis, Jr.
Patrick J. McGuire.
Thomas M. McHale.
Keith David McHefe.
Ann M. McHugh.
Dennis J. McHugh III.
Dennis P. McHugh.
Michael Edward McHugh Jr.
Robert G. McIlvain.
Donald James McIntyre.
Stephanie Marie McKenna.
Molly L. McKenzie.
Barry J. McKeon.
Evelyn C. McKennedy.
Daryl LaRon McKinney.
George Patrick McLaughlin Jr.
And my beloved late husband, Sean Gordon Corbett O'Neill. Beautiful Sean, you are always with us through the eyes of your incredible daughter and all around us, forever and eternal.
And to my cousin and my best friend, Lucia Crifasi. Lucy, it's been 20 years today that you are gone, but these years will never erase the memories we shared. You are a special friend I ever had, who cannot be replaced. Our lives move on, but your happy memories are still with us. I am glad I am still in touch with your sister Maria, your brother Frank, and our best friends, Nadine, Betsy, and Lily Wilson. I love you, and I really, really miss you. Ciao, Bella.
Robert C. McLaughlin, Jr.
Gavin McMahon.
Robert D. McMahon.
Edmund M. McNally.
Daniel Walker McNeil.
Walter Arthur McNeil.
Christine Sheila McNulty.
Sean Peter McNulty.
Robert William McPadden.
Terrence A. McShane.
Timothy Patrick McSweeney.
Martin E. Williams.
Rocco A. Medaglia.
Abigail Medina.
Anna Iris Medina.
Damian Meehan.
William J. Meehan, Jr.
Alok Kumar Mekta.
Raymond Meisenheimer.
Manuel Emilio Mejia.
Escadar Malacu.
Antonio Melendez.
Mary P. Melendez.
Christopher D. Mello.
Yelena Melanichenko.
Stuart Todd Meltzer.
D'Aurelia Giovanna Mena.
Dora Marie Menchaca.
Charles R. Mendez.
Lizette Mendoza.
Siobhan Alicia Mentes.
Wolfgang Peter Menzel.
Steve John Mercado.
Wilfredo Mercado.
Wesley Mercer.
Ralph Joseph Mercurio.
Alan Harvey Merdinger.
George L. Marino.
Yamel Josephina Marino.
George Mercuris.
And my cousin, Gary Michael Albero. Gary, our family misses your love, laughter, and smile. You live in each and every one of us every day. We love you, and please give Dad a hug for us. God bless you all, and God bless America.
And my grandfather, Battalion Chief Lawrence T. Stack. 20 years ago, I met my grandfather, BC Lawrence T. Stack. He held me in his arms, his first of 6 grandchildren. 7 days later, he was gone from the city and family he loved. We will love and miss you forever. Never forget 9/11 and the first responders who protect our city every day. We thank our military and our first responders to our country, and God bless America. Thank you.
Deborah Merrick.
Raymond Joseph Metz III.
Jill Ann Metzler.
David Robert Meyer.
Nurul H. Mia.
William Edward Michuli.
Martin Paul Michaelstein.
Patricia E. Mickley.
Ronald D. Milam.
Peter Teague Milano.
Gregory Milanowicz.
Lukasz Tomasz Milewski.
Sharon Christina Milan.
Corey Peter Miller.
Craig J. Miller.
Douglas C. Miller.
Henry Alfred Miller, Jr.
Joel Miller.
Michael Matthew Miller.
Nicole Carol Miller.
Philip D. Miller.
Robert Allen Miller.
Robert Cromwell Miller, Jr.
Benny Millman.
Charles M. Mills, Jr.
Ronald Keith Milstein.
Robert J. Manera.
William George Minardi.
Louis Joseph Minervino.
Thomas Mingion.
Wilbert Morale.
Dominic N. Mirkovich.
Rajef Arjan Mirpuri.
Joseph D. Mistrudi.
Susan J. Miskowicz.
Paul Thomas Mitchell.
Richard P. Muccio.
Jeffrey Peter Mladinik.
Frank V. Mochia, Sr.
Louis Joseph Moraferi.
And my father, Charles Augustus Lorenzen. Your strength continues to motivate us. May we continue to make you proud. We love you, Dad. We miss you. Until we meet again.
And to my father, Daniel Lopez. He was the coolest guy in the block from his neighborhood of Los Sures, Brooklyn, a tragic and beautiful Puerto Rican neighborhood. He was the best house DJ that New York ever saw. Y era boricua, pa que tú lo sepa. He taught me to be proud of my heritage and my blood, and will always charge forwards with that. Thank you.
Boyi Muhammad.
Dennis Mojica.
Manuel de Mojica Jr.
Kleber Rolanda Molina.
Manuel de Jesus Molina.
Carl Molinaro.
Justin John Molisani Jr.
Brian Patrick Monaghan.
Franklin Monahan.
John Gerard Monahan.
Kristen Lee Montanaro.
Craig Montano.
Michael G. Montesi.
Carlos Alberto Beto Montoya.
Antonio de Jesus Montoya Valdez.
Cheryl Ann Moniak.
Thomas Carlo Moody.
Sharon Moore.
Krishna V. Morthy.
Laura Lee DeFazio Morabito.
Abner Morales.
Carlos Manuel Morales.
Paula E. Morales.
Sonia Mercedes Morales Papalo.
Gerard P. Moran Jr.
John Christopher Moran.
John Michael Moran.
Kathleen Moran.
Lindsay Stapleton Morehouse.
George William Morell.
Stephen P. Morello.
Vincent S. Morello.
Yvette Nicole Marino.
Dorothy Morgan.
Richard J. Morgan.
Nancy Morgenstern.
Sane More.
Blanca Robertino Moracho Moracho.
Leonel Hermano Moracho Moracho.
Dennis Gerard Moroni.
And my aunt, Daphne Paletzis. Saza, losing you is a nightmare, and we mourn every laugh, every smile, and every story that now we will never be able to share with you. In their place, an emptiness that will never be filled. Simply put, you were the best person we ever knew, and we were so lucky to have you in our lives. Every moment was a joy, each memory a gift that we will always treasure. And for as dark as that day was, to know you was to know a love and a light that shines so much brighter.
And to my grandfather, Battalion Chief John Joseph Jack Fanning of Hazmat Operations, FDNY. My hero I never got to meet. I know so much about you because you're still talked about every single day. Please continue to watch over Daddy, Uncle Jeremy, Aunt Jackie, the rest of the family, and I. You are so missed by all of us and may be gone, but will never be forgotten. I love you always, and I'm so proud to be your granddaughter. Rest in peace, Grandpa.
Lynn Irene Morris.
Odessa V. Morris.
Seth Allen Morris.
Steve Morris.
Christopher Martell Morrison.
Ferdinand V. Marone.
William David Moskal.
Brian A. Moss.
Marco Matroni.
Cynthia Motis Wilson.
Yuri A. Muchinsky.
Jude Joseph Musa.
Peter Mudis.
Damian O'Neill Mowat.
Teddington H. Moy.
Christopher Michael Mozillo.
Stephen Vincent Muldery.
Richard T. Modanley Jr.
Michael D. Mullen.
Dennis Michael Mulligan.
Peter James Mulligan.
Michael Joseph Mullen.
James Donald Munhall.
Nancy Muniz.
Francisco Eladio Munez.
Carlos Mario Munoz.
Teresa Munson.
Robert Michael Murdoch.
Cesar Augusto Murillo.
Mark A. Murillo.
Brian Joseph Murphy.
Charles Anthony Murphy.
Christopher W. Murphy.
Edward Charles Murphy.
James F. Murphy IV.
James Thomas Murphy.
Kevin James Murphy.
Patrick Jude Murphy.
Patrick Sean Murphy.
Raymond E. Murphy.
And my grandfather, James Anthony Trentini, and my grandmother, Mary Barbara Trentini. We miss you and love you so much. We wish we had more time with you, and I know you're looking over us every day. We love you.
And my brother, Manuel Gomez Jr., Manny as he was known, to family and friends, loved piloting his airline, his plane, riding his motorcycles, scuba diving, and loved being in field service with his friends. He was a venturous, loving, and a God-fearing man. We all miss Manny, remember him, especially Mom, who's watching today from Puerto Rico, his two nephews, Stephen and Michael. But most importantly, he's remembered by Jehovah God, as are all the victims. And we have faith in the promise he has and mentioned in the book of John, chapter 5, verse 28 and 29. Hasta la resurrección, mi hermano.